The thing I wanted to talk about was rescue costs, because I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make is that they are not looking at their numbers. And I know a lot of you don't like numbers. You want to get out there and help the dogs and raise money and do all this sort of stuff. But at some point, we have to do things we don't like. And one of those is look at the numbers. So, one of the things I want you to encourage you to do is get a really good idea of what your costs are. Go back over the last 100 dogs or cats or whatever you're rescuing, people, iguanas, I don't care what it is, and see what it cost you. You should know what it costs you to do routine vetting on a dog. You should have a package deal of some sort with your vet, and you know it will cost, I don't know, 124 to do all your shots, plus a spay and neuter on a dog 40 pounds or less, plus a month of heartworm treatment, plus a month of flea tick sort of stuff. You should have that number. So when you look at a dog that you're about to rescue, you know that that's what your cost is going to be, and that's what you can share with your supporters. So a lot of you take in some hard luck cases too, the heartworm positive dogs, the ones with orthopedic injuries. And while you may have routine vetting costs on them, you also have those extraordinary expenses where things have gone really wrong and you have to step in and set it straight. So take your last 10 hard luck cases and divide them up by category. Take your last 10 heartworm dogs, see what your costs were, write them down. Don't ballpark this. Of those last 10, how many had an emergency post-treatment and had to go to the ER and get steroids or be treated for an embolism or whatever? Look at those costs. If you've got 10 dogs that you treat for heartworm and it's costing around $300 a dog, and one out of every 10 has to go to the ER for $700 worth of ER treatment, then your real cost to take on a dog with heartworms is going to be 300 plus 700 divided by 10. You're going to average $70 per dog. So your real cost probably to treat a heartworm dog is 300, or at least that's what you need to use for planning. And do the same thing with your orthopedic cases. You can divide them down into your hip cases, your hit by car cases, your underweight dog cases. Divide them by category and find out what your true average cost is for that category. Have that really firmly in mind. And I know it's a pain, but you really need that for applying for grants, for fundraising, for sharing with your supporters exactly what it takes. Don't let everything be an emergency. Don't be like, oh my God, I picked this dog up and now I need $300. No, plan ahead. Know what your numbers are, know what you're rescuing, and know what it's probably going to cost you and how much you're going to raise. Does that make sense? I know a lot of people don't do that, especially the smaller rescues. I know you got into this with your heart. You're rescuing everything that comes by, and you don't feel like you have time to do this, much less time to raise money. But if you do this and have a really solid feel for what your actual average costs are, it's going to make it so much easier to raise money for that. And it's especially going to make it easy to raise money for grants because you'll know exactly what your program costs are. And that's what those are. These are program costs. This is what it costs to rescue one dog. If you talk to any of the big shelters, like Young Williams, for instance, and I believe Campbell County as well, they know what it costs to intake a dog. They know that day one, their costs, including overhead and admin and everything, are going to be about somewhere between 50 and 80 bucks. They know what it's going to cost to feed the dog and care for the dog per day, long term. So they know their costs. If you don't have a good feel for that, then that is the first place you need to start in terms of getting on solid financial footing. So if you got any questions, pop them in the comments. I'll get to them. But I hope that gives you a place to start. When we do fundraising for rescue groups, going forward, that's one of the first things we'll want to coach you through is getting a solid idea of your costs, because there's no point in just going out and saying, oh, I need to raise a bunch of money. Okay, well, that's fine, but that doesn't work long term. What works long term is a good, solid business plan, and that means understanding what your costs really are. So go do that. Get back to me if you get any questions.